Thinking about every issue that could be considered a threat to our national security,
we could have a national public health scare.
Can be overwhelming. That's why this week we're looking at the real threats that we and our country face.
It's basically turned people over to the cartels.
A straightforward look at what's really happening at the southern border.
They're likely to be increasingly vulnerable and increasingly attacked in the future.
In the American towns that can speak from experience after the security of their water supply was breached.
But that's the reality.
This is The Race.
There are many places where we could begin when we talk about national security, but we want to start with an issue that is of national concern and one that often targets us. We're talking about cybersecurity, from ransomware to compromised passwords. A group here in Detroit says to fight hackers, you have to bring a mindset that they believe the cybersecurity industry doesn't have enough of right now.
A lot of the time when people talk about hackers, you see this, a guy in a hood in a dark room typing on a computer.
The idea of hacking is so much more than just a computer now.
It's bigger. And the more we get into technology, the bigger it gets.
We're here talking with cybersecurity instructor Ida Bird Hill. She teaches the people who will one day be tasked with keeping your info safe.
I just think that we're naive just because we're safe. And we take our safety for granted.
About 90% of data breaches aren't as high-tech as you may think.
Cybersecurity is really not 100% techie. I would say it's probably more emotional and psychological than people think.
One example, when we get an email saying a new expensive item is being shipped to us, hackers are playing on our fear that we've mistakenly ordered something. We're driven by our emotion to click on the hacker's link. At Ida's school, Automation Works. Her mission is to create diversity in an industry that is 75% white men. Separately, she says the industry can benefit from embracing those who've had run-ins with the criminal justice system. Malia Salam told us she agrees. Her organization, Detroit at Work, helps those who have left prison find jobs.
Martha Stewart is a former, she's a returning citizen. There are all sorts of people who have a criminal or felony background, but they have viable skills, they have integrity, and once they pay their debt to society, they deserve a shot.
So you need more people who are in that mindset and who could think like a criminal to be able to face off against a hacker, because all a hacker is a criminal.
And as we did research for this story, hey, Louis, how are you? Thanks for doing this. We heard about a man named Louis DePayne. Did you at that point in your life consider yourself a hacker?
I never really bothered with labels.
He knows the hacking scene firsthand.
Hacker certainly fits.
20 years ago, he spent time on house arrest after the feds busted him for playing a role in an effort to hack a phone company's software.
You can read from a textbook, you can learn from a textbook, and you can apply textbook examples to real life, but a security incident, especially one, let's say 5-10 years from now, it's not going to be in a textbook. So you need people who can think outside the box.
The White House has urged companies to fill the estimated 600,000 empty cybersecurity jobs in the U.S. Concerned a gap in workers will make it easier for hackers. Many times, cybersecurity jobs pay more than $100,000 a year, and to Ida, that is an opportunity.
To go from $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year to $100,000 is a major lifestyle leap. And it impacts your children, it impacts the people around you, it changes a community.
A chance not just to defend our nation against an increasing threat, but help it grow from within.
If you're like me, the first thing that probably comes to mind when you're thinking about climate change is maybe rising sea levels or perhaps more intense storms. But I was surprised to learn recently that everything that's going on with our climate is having a major impact on national security.
Quite ignorantly, I made an assumption about this story, that only in the last decade or so did we start studying the national security impacts of climate change.
In one way, it's a large social challenge because people don't always react to challenges that still seem somewhere off in the future.
But Ron Dole, an associate professor at Florida State University, was quick to give me a history lesson and some perspective.
the greater the instability of the climate, the greater the instability in the larger political landscape, national landscapes.
Right after World War II, scientists at the Department of Defense began collecting data from the North and South Poles and saw they were getting warmer. Why did the U.S. military suddenly care? Because the warming of the North Sea meant the Soviets would more easily be able to move their navy around the world.
So understanding what was going on, including whether the climate was warming, was really important.
I wanted to better understand the current day impacts of climate change on national security, though, which is where John Conger comes in.
Now, climate change is a today problem. It is something that is happening today, the impacts we're dealing with today, and they're only going to get worse.
He says more intense storms will not only impact the power grid our military installations rely on, they'll also be more tangible impacts on our armed forces.
As climate change proceeds, you have installations that were built with a certain expectation for climate conditions and weather, and that's changing. Sea level rise is going to yield more recurring flooding. You can't fly off a flooded runway.
Then there are the broader impacts globally. Geopolitical conflicts, war, and migration will all be amplified by a warming planet.
It's also going to drive instability around the world. And so in that context, they often call climate change a threat multiplier. It makes bad situations worse.
The Department of Defense is continuing to look at ways to make our security systems more resilient to climate change.
If you ignore it, but your adversaries do not, you leave yourself a blind spot.
When it comes to the broad-reaching impacts of a warming planet, though, it appears all assumptions should be off the table. I'm Chris Conti.
Cities are taking action in response to a unique threat to water supplies when the race continues.